Okay, I guess we're live. Welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Carpenter. I am a partner at Hardiman Telecommunications and I'm responsible for our practice out here in Asia. I'm very happy to be hosting today's panel on the Bangladesh tower market. Joining me are three distinguished gentlemen and panelists representing both the towerco and the mobile operator segments of the market in Bangladesh. We're lucky enough to have two of the four towercos represented. That is firstly the Summit Task Consortium, represented by Mr. Mark Perisat, who is a member of the board there at Summit Towers and a partner at Task. We have the Kertonkhola ATC Consortium, represented by their CEO, Mr. Salman Karim, and representing the mobile operators, specifically Teletalk, we have Mohammed Saifur Rahman Khan. So we're well represented on all sides for today. We have a 45-minute discussion penned in for you, and it's going to be divided into three segments. Firstly, a bit of a market introduction from myself for those of you who are not so familiar with the market. Then we'll get into the panel discussion with the team and with the panelists, where we'll be looking at the market status, the regulation, tower demand, and sale and leaseback opportunities that present in the Bangladesh market. And then lastly, we will be able to move on to some of your questions, which you can type in the chat window of the Zoom, and they'll be sent through to us. Just note there's a little bit of a delay on that, so get those questions in early. So, quick introduction to Bangladesh tower market. It's a market that's been a long time in the making since the four towerco licenses were issued back in November 2018. They were, of course, issued to the incumbent EDOTCO, a newly formed consortium of Summit and Task, who are represented here today. Similarly with Kertonkhola Tower, who is represented today. It's part of the Confidence Group, joint with a JV with American Tower. And then thirdly, unfortunately not on the call today, was a local consortium by the name of AP High-Tech Group. Now, I remember the tower exchange back in 2018, December 2018, just after the awards of the licenses were announced. And that year I attended the Bangladesh Roundtable, and there was much excitement about the market, specifically about the controversy of the framework that had been proposed by the regulator. We had all the MNOs basically there. We had the towercos, Mark and Saifur. I believe you were both very much involved in that particular conversation. And to say it was heated, I think is a bit of an understatement. It was very clear that the mobile operators were not happy about what had been put on the table. And it's really that division of opinion has defined the market since then. However, recently, very recently, in the last month, it appears that we've had some breakthroughs. Some of those deadlocks appeared to have been broken. Some agreements have been brokered. Summit Task has announced tower deals build to suit with Banglalink. AB High-Tech have announced similar with Robbie. And even EDOTCO has announced with Grameenphone. And whilst all of that 24-month was passing, EDOTCO went on to build over 1,600 towers. So it's a very clear that latent demand presents in the market. And that's fundamentally because it's a market with a great and a lot of growing to do. Bangladesh has got over 160 million SIM cards in the market, slightly more than 100% penetration of population. They have 35,000 towers, which by every measure is underserving the market in terms of number of towers. It's only second to the Philippines in terms of the number of SIMs per tower in the South and the Southeast Asia region. Now, one measure I've found very useful in recent times of understanding the maturity and readiness of mobile and fixed infrastructure is how mobile download speeds changed during COVID. Now, for Bangladesh, it has the lowest across the Southeast and Southern Asian region, with an average of just 11 Mbps. And during that lockdown period that happened in Bangladesh at late March, it dropped by 20%, sort of showing that there is a clear need to improve mobile, specifically tower infrastructure. So with all that in mind, a quick reminder that you can plonk your questions into the chat, which we will address at the end. Let's get over to the panelists and let's hear their view on the market. Saifur, let's start with you. Good to see you again. Welcome back. You're very much on your own today with two towercos and yourself just batting for the mobile operators. Tell us a little bit about Teletalk and tell us a bit about the mobile operator landscape that presents today in Bangladesh.
Okay. Thank you and good morning, everybody. In some places it's good morning and some places good evening. Okay, and thank you, Paul. And I have after issue the license from regulator 1st of November 2018, I think there is no significant improvement right now. And because SLA is finalized from the service level agreement is finalized from the towercos and at the same time regulator. Now the ice is break. So I think it will be come up with a good scenario right from now onward. But during that, before that part, COVID is here, so it might be delay in business cases. So if you come up with the MNO's business content, I think these things will be come up right now because the four towercos, they have a now opportunity for come up with the business with the MNOs. That is my point. And if you come up with the existing scenario and that some of MNOs are getting POs from some issuing POs to the towercos. Maybe IT High-Tech and I think some other operators also, Kirtankola also, they are also getting the POs from the MNOs. I think good sign is going on. So hopefully within a couple of maybe fourth quarter or next year, it will be they come up with a good business share. Because everything will be finalized, and we hope it will come up with a good business scenario. We'll come up with the business content. I think maybe in Bangladesh content, towercos will come up with a good shape. So for understanding in now in the current moment.
Okay, and just in terms of the operator landscape. We have four operators there, right? And yeah. We have Grameenphone, we have Robbie, we have Banglalink, and we have yourselves. And just tell us a little bit about how those four operators are positioned in the market.
Yeah, if we come up with the subscription base, this Grameenphone is leading. They have more than if you come out the subscription, they have more than 78 million subscribers. If you come at the Banglalink, they have 34 million subscriber, and Robi 51 million subscriber, and come up with the Teletalk part is my entity. So it's around 4.35 million subscriber. And if you come up with the tower scenario, we have more than 5,000 towers. Teletalk have 5,000. The rest of the operator, if you and more than 33,000 towers. Grameenphone, Banglalink, and Robi. And considering that part. Grameenphone has covered all the situation, all areas, urban and rural areas in Bangladesh, and they have the good subscription base, and they are investing from their own part. Still, but when the regulator has stopped the build up their own tower, but before that they already established their towers. That is their opportunity. And during 2018, they are more than 13,000. They already established the tower. So and now they have more than 14,000 towers. If you cover their own site, sharing site at the same time, greenfield also. And Banglalink more than 9,000, and Robi they have more than 10,000 towers, and ourselves is more than 5,000 towers.
Okay,
so
excellent.
Yeah. So if you come up with the I have a pretty some sort of challenge for the towercos. How they handed over the operators, MNOs is handed over their existing tower to the towercos. That is the main challenge. So far, my understanding.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to get to that sale and leaseback challenges a little bit later. Thank you very much, Saiful, for that. Mark, welcome back to Tower Exchange. You're a very regular attendee and a familiar face with the rest of us that attend regularly. A little bit of a plug for you. Congratulations on your recent tie-up with Zain in the Middle East and Africa. I believe that's now out in the open. So tell us how then life has been for you, sort of slightly out of that, which is Bangladesh, and your tie-up with the Summit Communications guys as a consortium, and how the last 12 months has been for you as an active towerco in the Bangladesh market.
Sure. Maybe I'll start with a quick recap. So Task is present in Bangladesh through Summit Towers. Summit Towers is a joint venture between Summit Group and Task Towers. Summit Group is one of the largest conglomerates in Bangladesh, active in the power sector, but also relevant, I guess, active in the telecom space. They own and operate the largest fiber operator in Bangladesh, which is relevant to a lot of the sites that they actually connect. And so one of the attractions of working with Summit is they have existing relationships, customer relationships with all the MNOs. So really for them, moving from fiber into tower is moving into a new product area or service area, but on the back of an existing customer relationship. As far as we, Task, are concerned, we are a Dubai-based towerco. We have a strategic focus to expand and move into the Manasa region. Obviously, Bangladesh is part of South Asia. We started looking into Bangladesh more than 5 years ago, and were attracted by the country's characteristics, which include its scale, its growth prospects, but also, as you're saying, Paul, the fact that it's very clear that the infrastructure is very underdeveloped, whether you look at it from a kind of SIM card per tower point of view, or as you're saying, from a speed point of view, a lot of investment is required. And it's not happened to date because the MNOs have been cash constrained to some extent, the MNO market being somewhat competitive in Bangladesh, to say the least. So what we've been up to last 12 months, well, two main things. One has been to set up shop, basically establish an operating platform, hiring the staff, and importantly, set up a network of trusted suppliers, which in some cases overlapped with Summit's fiber business, but in many cases didn't. So we had to set that up, be ready to, through RFP, to deliver the towers that are now required by Banglalink under the current BTS agreement that we've just signed. The other strand of activity has really been about working with the regulator, the BTRC. All of us around this table have been involved in this process, long process of basically agreeing the MSA. Maybe a frustrating process, but I think in the end all worth it, because we got to the point now that it's been agreed. We've had the chance to start bilateral talks with MNOs and ended up with this particular deal with Banglalink, which we think is going to be the first of many.
Excellent, thank you, Mark. Salman, welcome to Tower Exchange. Kirtan Koller is part of the Confidence Group, which is one of the largest conglomerates in Bangladesh, and you're being ably supported by American Tower. What was it about the tower industry that attracted the Confidence Group, and why did you select American Tower as your partner?
Thank you everyone. Greetings from Bangladesh and from Confidence. So basically, if I give you a certain recap about what Confidence Group does and our foothold in Bangladesh. So predominantly Confidence Group is plays a role as a manufacturer of various kinds of products. We have footprint in telecom as ISP provider and content aggregator. We also are involved in manufacturing of industrial batteries, paint, And last but not the least, we also play as an infra rental player, particularly in the power sector, as an IPP power producer, independent power producer, if you will. So coming from that end, one of the value system that we, and also particularly when we make investments, we look into, we have a certain set of areas that we find and developed our expertise, and one of them being in the infra rental business. So if so Confidence's introduction to tower and passive infra goes a while back. I mean, it started back in 2002, where we started off with manufacturing and installation of telecom towers. Primarily, we're the largest tower fabricator in the country, where majority of our footprint was built by us, where our customer has been Grameenphone, Banglalink, Teletalk, and in many cases it was Motorola back then, Nokia, and many other organizations. So from there on, we understood, we culminated our expertise on building tower infra, designing efficient tower infra, and as well as managing and renting out infrastructure coming together. We felt that we will have certain edge and would be able to contribute value in the tower sharing market. We have been doing our due diligence for several years, so we have come across Task. We came to know of Mark and their representative from Task, and then we have had experience in engaging with the MNOs, where we have found we've seen opportunities in playing as a tower sharing operator in Bangladesh, which is why we have again pursued really hard in getting the license. In the tower sharing market, if I just add a little bit, where since the advent of giving the license, BTRC has played a progressive role, because how this market is structured very uniquely compared to the other markets in Asia. And I think our regulator, all the stakeholders, including the MNOs, have come together, and we have finally drafted an MSA where it's workable for both, it's equitable. And then you're seeing the results where Summit, Task, and then AB High-Tech has already started building towers. Hopefully we'll be in the same position as well.
Thank you, Salma. Just staying with that theme then on the regulation. You've been building towers for a long time in Bangladesh, by the sound of it, providing the towers, and I guess having this opportunity then on your doorstep was too tempting to ignore, to get into the infrastructure sharing business with towers. Just set out for us and some of the people listening in how the regulatory regime is in terms of what towercos can and cannot do, because it's very siloed in Bangladesh. Mobile operators can't do fiber operators can't do mobile, so on and so forth. What are you allowed to do as a towerco in terms of service provision, and how is it structured there for you as a towerco?
If I put it simply, naturally the guideline is quite elaborate, and obviously with every guideline there are always room for interpretation. And but if I speak plainly, the tower guideline predominantly allows the license holders to own and maintain passive infra. So by passive infra, it allows you to build towers, civil work, and then provide power, which is also part of passive infra. As part of a bundled service. If you look at certain derivatives, right, derivative of services that can come out of this guideline is introducing in-building solutions, which is not explicitly mentioned in the license. you can provide and share your existing infrastructure to any other form or fashion. For example, I think at this point in time, E.co, I think Summit, for that matter, will also come into play through their entity and wing, their fiber wing, where you can rent out your the BTS rooms for sharing POPs to internet providers. So these sort of innovative solutions do come into play, and they will come up, they will pop up as we go along. But primarily, I think if I stick to your question, the overall objective of this license is to reduce footprint all across the country where there are overlaps of many operators due to market opportunities. But these overlaps, reducing these overlaps, reducing this footprint, and improving tenancies as much as possible on the towers. So if I describe the scope is to bring in efficiency in tower infra optimization. That is what this license is predominantly directed towards. So back to you.
No, fine. So I thought, do you agree with that objective as an operator?
Yeah.
And are those services that Salman described in terms of the in-building, the POPs, and even fiber, are they things that you are interested in purchasing from infrastructure providers to further your business within the market? I mean, it's a very different prospect for yourselves as Teletalk to be sitting with 5,000 towers against Grameenphone's 14, and you know, the subscriber base as it sits. I mean, surely access to more locations is what you would really look to find. So from your point of view, and going back to that conversation we had in December 2018 when everyone was unhappy about being forced to sell their towers, how does everything sit as far as you're concerned? Is the MSA and the agreements that have been reached, are you happy with everything?
From first challenge for the benefit for the operator side, the QoS, that is quality of service improvement. Because right now we are facing, most of the operator is facing the QoS problem. That is the main intention from the regulator. And this thing, in my previous discussion in 2018, I also mentioned these things. Because the QoS is the if the QoS is improved, then everything will be come up with a good business case, and customer will be much more satisfied for this service. And that is the main emphasis for the business or tower cost, one of the part. And if you come up the concentrate to the services, and at the same time, operator will be concentrated at the services, and at the same time, customer acquisition, and at the same time, revenue. Then an emphasize if the because then they don't concentrate about the tower maintenance and tower services issue, but they only concentrate the customer services and customer satisfaction issue. Operator, that is MNO's part. And then MNOs can consider that issue, because they don't think about how things, my tower is working on that. They don't think about that issue. That is the main and vital issue for the operator side. And at the same time, tower cost regarding tower cost objective will be how they give services and what process they will come up with the services with the MNOs. That is lead time, services lead time, and at the same time QoS is improving. That is also the main criteria for that. And regarding in-bin solution issue, because it was happening from the sense of the beginning. So in that case, it's more if we come up with the operator point of view, mobile operator, they've coming from more than 1,000 in-bin solution, and Banglalink will be 800 and 500 spend, and we have also we have few for in-bin solution issue. So it is very because my previous colleague Salman also mentioned these things, we have a few challenges for that part. I think everybody knows this thing, and they will come up with that. We also come up with. I think these things will be day by day be improving because now SLA is finalized. So within a couple of days or months, these things will be, I think, come up with a smooth operation of services. So far, my understanding, there should be some pretty challenges, but we expect these things will come up with a good scenario and those good business case for the rest of the rest of the time.
Okay. So in summary, you're looking forward to this developing?
Yeah. Yes, definitely, okay. Because we're looking for because I think the main iceberg was how this SLL already finalized. So now these things will be come up because now is a pandemic. So after a couple of months, these things will be overcome. If we overcome, then I think a business will be come up with a good scenario, maybe operator side and the same time tower side. And we are expecting that. And in a come up with a new rollout part, we have a plan. If we get this investment, I think more than 5,000 tower is our for expansion, new expansion. For our target. So I think then our tower will be more than 10,000. So that is our expectation. I think that if we build up that thing, our subscription growth will be good, and at the same time, our revenue, if we're considering the revenue part also will be good.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Mark, just a view then from your side on how you arrived at these MSAs and the discussions that were had, where it was sort of, what were the difficult points of the discussion from the MNO's point of view and the TowerCo's point of view? Has it landed in the right place, or does it still favor one or the other in any way? And sounds like there's some very good business there to be had from Teletalk for you.
Made a note of that. No, I think I just want to pick up on what Saiful was saying before answering your question. Sure. If you go back 2 years ago, when we were having this discussion about what's coming, this regulatory framework, I remember the MNOs, you're right, were very skeptical, saying, why is this? Why do we have to get rid of our towers? And it was all gloom and doom. But I never understood this, because fundamentally, what the BTRC is trying to do is help them. It's like, it's for sure a lot less costly for the MNOs to roll out their network using telcos than doing it on their own. And it's basic as that. And the other thing, from a strategic point of view, you're much keener as an MNO to have the choice of telcos as opposed to be stuck with one, with whom your negotiating leverage may be somewhat reduced, right? So I think, welcome Saiful's comment, I think he's moved on a little bit from maybe he and other MNOs were 2 years ago. But I think it's been a change for the good for everyone. It's not just for the telcos. So, I mean, as far as your question, Paul, my view is that the MSA is balanced, as Salman was saying. It's equitable. All parties were involved in those discussions. They took a lot more time than we thought. But frankly, I've been involved in MSA discussions on a one-on-one basis. Takes as long. So I think it's almost incredible that involving 4 MNOs and 4 telcos, you managed to get to a landing that actually makes sense for everyone, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I just like to say something, which is, the BTRC got a lot of flack as well for their initiative. But in my view, having dealt with a lot of regulators around the world, where I spend a lot of my time educating or trying to get past the red tape or trying to get things moving, this is unprecedented. What the BTRC has done is unique. I mean, they were visionaries in the way they decided they saw a problem in terms of MNOs having to improve their network infrastructure, not being able to, and they said, fine, we're going to help specific telcos to get into the market to help them. And they managed this, and they didn't just sitting on sofa watching us like scramble to agree to an MSA agreement. They helped. They facilitated this whole process in a way that, frankly, I've not seen anywhere in the world. So let's give them credit for this. And the other thing I'd say is that they didn't overstep their mark. They didn't try, for example, as was maybe the MNO's fears, at some point, they didn't try to set commercial terms. See, they could have decided to come up with, say, okay, this is the rate card and everybody's going to sign up to this. They realized it was probably best to be left with bilateral discussions between MNO and telco, and they were right. They were right. I think what was helpful is to make sure that the operational SLA framework was defined and leave the commercial stuff really for us on a one-on-one basis to deal with. So, you know, looking back, I must say it's all worked very well, and the platform is there for both MNOs and telcos to prosper.
Pretty good. So on that note, and a little bit left field, but do some of the other regulators in Asia have something to learn from this process?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know regulators do meet on a on a frequent basis, and I would have thought this should be a case study to be where the BTRC kind of explains what they've done. But you know, it just takes obviously it takes government support for those kind of initiatives, right? It needs, and the Bangladeshi government was fully behind what the BTRC was doing. Would the same happen in Asia? I can think of a lot of countries where a serious tidying up of towers, I'm thinking Vietnam, for example, you know, would be required. And looking forward to see the local regulator there move and do something, step up.
Sure, very good. Thank you, Mark. Right, so we've got a question in, and it sort of matches with what we're going to talk about next, which is lease up demand in the market. Always a hot topic for everyone who's providing tower solutions, and investors alike. Saifa, obviously we've mentioned already in terms of the types of service and quality of service that's being driven already. You mentioned yourself that there hasn't been massive improvement of late. I hope this is going to change. You want to, as you just said there, build another 5,000 towers. Is that what's driving the demand? Is it subscriber demand for data? Is it capacity, or is there still a lot of coverage that needs to go into the market?
In both cases, data and voice, both cases we are expecting that. Hopefully, and we have forecasted that if we come up with the government investment, because this is, you know, Teletalk is a state-owned company. So if we go find any sort of government investment, then we have a plan, and we have forecast maybe next 5,000 subscribers. We can say depth towers we can be established within a couple of years. That is our and that these things will be improve our first our subscription base, second our data, and at the same time our revenues as well. So that is our main emphasis right now, because if you come out with the challenging part, because most of the operators more than 10,000 towers. So our rest 3 operators, Grameenphone, Bangladesh, Agrobin, and if you compare with them, then we have to establish much more towers. Otherwise, it's difficult for being a state-owned operator, difficult for doing the business. So that is the main area also. And these things also improve our QoS also. If we come up with the QoS, then these things will be improves our rest of the QoS part also. Thank you.
Okay. And Mark, the recent announcement by E.co would suggest that Grameenphone has kind of unstuck some of their dispute issues that they have in the market, where they were previously being stopped from bringing in equipment. Has all of that stuff been resolved? Are the operators bringing in equipment to deploy? Because I mean, you can build as many towers as you like, but if there's no equipment to put on them, there's no tenant to pay. So has that issue been resolved, and are we going to see the operators now kind of coming unstuck and moving forward?
Yeah, I guess the issue of not being able to import equipment was just Grameenphone related in the context of the litigation, which now I think has been kind of resolved since July. So there's no restrictions for Grameenphone, or for that matter any MNOs. So I think the future is looking good. You've seen the recent announcements, which total something like 800 or so towers of new towers going to be deployed in Bangladesh. I mean, I can easily anticipate 2,000 plus towers being rolled out really next year. And that's related in part to this issue of pent-up demand, because really nothing much has happened apart from edotco deploying new sites last year. Nobody else was able to, because of those MSA discussions and etc., to deploy. So there's clearly pent-up demand from MNOs. I would expect 2021 as a result to be probably more active than the next few years, but still there's clearly a need for ongoing capacity, in particular capacity kind of coverage or capacity kind of remediation through the rollout of sites, mostly in urban areas, rooftops in particular, for sure. I mean, Dhaka and other some of the big cities in Bangladesh are seeing continuous demand for data and capacity as a result. So we stand to benefit. We still need to keep in mind what Salman was saying before, which is that there's still going to be, we expect, some streamlining of existing towers, because the name of the game is still to try and increase colocation, and through colocation, on especially involving overlapping towers, there might be a few sites that will be basically made redundant and terminated. But I think overall, there's no doubt that we'll see a net growth that is significant over the next few years.
Very good. And Salman, now that you've let me into this little secret about your tower construction history, what do you think the market can achieve on an annual basis in terms of construction capacity? Mark suggests 2,000. Saifor says he needs another 5. What do you think the market can deliver in terms of site build?
So, I think in terms of tower fabrication, Bangladesh overall, the overall tower manufacturing industry can cater to more than, at this point, more than 5,000 towers per year easily, and that's still underballing, right? So particularly for us, we can at least, speaking from the manufacturing end of it, we can go as high as 3,500 towers per year, including installation, right? So this is a practice that has been mastered for over 20 years now, right? We are as good as anyone out there in the world. And if I am to answer in terms of one of the questions that I see that was asked to one of the panelists, which is relevant to this, and as Mark said, when we did our initial calculations on what the next 10-year projection would be, right, in terms of build to suits, building completely new tower sites, we were looking at a number not higher than 1,000 per year, right, counting from 2019 onwards. And as you can see, because of COVID, because of the SLA coming in when it did, there is definitely a pent-up demand which is going to be implemented in the next year, or maybe overlapping the following year best. So given all these factors at play, building of tower sites will be in the tune of, I agree with Mark, the tune of 2,200 sites, if not more, in the next year. And in terms of implementation from our side as towercos, I think there are many ifs and buts compared to when you start building towers yourself, right? You have to get, there are SOPs to comply with, there are certain approvals that you get. So combining all of that, I think the towercos are quite well equipped in terms of support from the market, supply chain support. All are actually there for the towercos to implement the absolute requirement from the MNOs in the upcoming years. Everyone is ready and very, very hungry at this point. So
well, imagine.
So everyone's been waiting, nail biting, but it's good that we have gotten the time and now we are ready. Things are looking up things are looking up for the overall market for sure.
Very good. And I guess we're just waiting for you guys then to announce where you're going to be building towers. No doubt it will be for Cyfor after this call.
I'll be making phone calls right now, right after this.
You're on mute, just by the way there, Cyfor, just so you know. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. Let's talk about sort of one of the big topics that's been around in the market for a long time, and that's the sale and leaseback opportunity, because we've got the elephant who's not in this room is E.co. They're the big dog in terms of towers in Bangladesh at the moment with over 10,000. So Mark, just start with you. I mean, is a sale and leaseback contract sort of paramount for success in this market, do you feel, in the next 2 years? And if so, you know, where might that come from?
Okay. I mean, sale and leaseback obviously helpful in the context of the fact they give you scale day one. Now, you know, you could have small sale and leaseback transactions, but I think in practice you would expect an operator, an MNO would probably be better off selling their entire portfolio as opposed to sell it piecemeal. So depending as to who obviously the MNO decides to sell their portfolios, that could give any tower cos, to the extent the funds and the strategic intent is there to gain scale. There's no doubt about it. You could even take the view that you're only going to grow through sale and leaseback. You know, you can ignore even BTS and say, you know, I'm just going to go through in Bangladesh through a big bang and that's it. I have to say that I think the BTS approach makes sense because one, you can't bank on sale and leaseback ever happening, and when they do, they take forever to get to negotiate, and very few get signed up in the end. So I think you need to get going with build to suit. I think the benefit of this is that you gain some recognition from MNOs in doing that through your operating skills, developing a trust relationship. And there are many telcos in the world, Paul, you know, that have become very big, largely and only through build to suit. So it is possible. The one thing I'd say about sale and leaseback is they're very complex transactions, very complex. They're basically trying to map out the next 10 or 15 years through a contract, the MSA. And you can imagine how significant, how important every clause in that contract is. You get one wrong, it's going to come and bite you, could put out of business. So whether we're talking about, you know, lease rates, indexation, how are you going to finance all this? All these are SLAs, obviously service credits. You know, all these are critical consideration. The other big technical consideration to think about as well is that unlike BTS, you acquire a legacy portfolio, right? So that legacy portfolio may not have been very well maintained, and comes potentially.
You've got Salman on the call, don't forget.
Okay.
He built half of them.
If a confidence tower is no problem, but if think about anybody with no confidence towers, they'd be in trouble, right? So you've got this nice fancy plan of increasing your colocation ratio, and suddenly you find out you've got to upgrade your towers massively because you underestimated their structural strength. So I'm not going to speculate as to who is going to come next with the sale and leaseback transactions. Both Grameen and Banglalink have been rumored in the past of being interested to do that. I think from a telco point of view, the only way you're going to be comfortable going with this approach is if there's an element of trust, more than an element of trust, with the MNO you're going to transact with, because the MSA is not going to be enough to help you resolve the snags along the way. Absolutely.
I was going to actually ask you that question, Salman. You know, how comfortable are you taking some of your towers back? I'm only joking. I'm only joking. So I think we're getting close to wrap up. There was one question regarding security services and those sorts of things, and I think we have a lot of people listening in, and I think it's fair to say that there is a lot of opportunity for all the various services that are needed on towers, everything from security through to power. Is power part of your remit, Salman? Is it part of the service to the MNOs?
Yes, so power definitely is. I mean, it's one of the integral aspect of providing service, providing sufficient power backup to the infrastructure when you need it. by the way, if I need to be clear here, it's about power backup only.
Yeah.
In the correct structure of power is basically a pass-through element. So just like, most countries out there. So apart from grid power, backup power from battery is definitely a passive infra. So naturally, to answer your question there, it is, absolutely it is. Without that, I mean, there were questions raised in the past regarding if that could be taken out, but if that's taken out, there is no point. There is no maintenance, there is no value to be offered, right? So in terms of power maintenance, there is significant value to be attributed to this overall tower regime, and also value to be transferred to the MNOs as well. There's with proper management of power and battery backup, one can definitely save a significant amount of buck.
Very good.
So yeah. So power is in our service, of course. Yes.
Very good. And is there an issue at all in terms of those sorts of services that you're going to have to procure externally and outside Bangladesh? So is the import duties and the taxes that get imposed in importing that stuff, is that an issue in terms when it comes to the pricing back to the mobile operators?
So yes, so mobile operators right now will enjoy a tax break on active network, and in terms of importing passive network, fixed tax structure, import duty structure that is that's there set by the Bangladesh customs, and that is some of these tax structures are high. Like say, for example, the tax structure on towers are high, on batteries are high. There are local industry present to cater to those. So it is more to do with tax structures are there to preserve the local manufacturing, and yeah, it's there.
Okay, right. I'm afraid that we have run out of time. Let me end by thanking all of you for participating. Thank you, Zaifor, Mark, Salman. It's been a very good conversation, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. And if you have any further questions, you can reach everybody directly through the Tower Exchange platform. So just reach out to us. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure.